Hey everybody, wanted to do another crazy hard hat hair talk for you all. I wanted to talk about basically staying productive and also tips for keeping busy while at work. I know that a lot of times there will be like a lull where perhaps you finish your work and what was laid out for you, like maybe it was a whole boatload of work, and then you just run out, you run dry, and the next step is for you to find out what's next. And if you're not someone who has an iPad or like a set of plans in front of you and you know where the as-builts are at in particular and where they need to be taken to, like you have a progress checklist basically like that you can follow, you have to ask somebody. So one thing that I think is important is like if like the individual that is your point person for that information is like busy, like what are you supposed to do? So one thing that I think is helpful is if you perhaps, like maybe you're working from a lift. If you're working from a scissor lift, then maybe it's time to clean it up because you just did a lot of work and you might be switching gears now to do a whole separate thing that is unrelated and doesn't require the same materials. So it's might be a good time to just go ahead and clean out your lift. Like if there's a bunch of monocoat just sitting on your lift, or there's a bunch of fasteners or material that just gets stuck underneath the slide out bucket on your lift, then it might be a good time to just get that resolved, because otherwise it's like you're sitting there and you're fighting yourself while you're trying to work, and it being clean is not bad. I would say that sometimes getting out a broom and sweeping can be the wrong thing, because it's like, why are you worried about this when there's like deadlined work that needs to be completed? But definitely like organizing your cart is not a bad idea. Like, oh, I just did all this and I've got an idea about the next thing, but I don't really know. Then you can be like, oh, well, maybe we don't have to run MC anymore, so I can roll all the MC over to where we keep it by the shark cage or the Connex or something, and get that stuff tucked away so that you can have a clean slate for starting the next thing. So that's a good like sort of practice to have. It's like, oh, if I kind of know what's next, then you can sort of use that to fill the space when maybe the foreman or whoever is not around, so that you can have a more seamless transition to the next thing. I'd recommend, if your company does like walkies or something, or if you have people's phone numbers, to give them a call if they don't answer and they're busy, which happens all the time, to send them a text and be like, hey, give me a call when you're free, finish that thing. I'm just going to be cleaning my lift in the meantime. So you covered your bases. Maybe there's like some guys who are doing some other stuff, and you just see like, hey, you guys need a hand with what you guys are doing, and that'll like fill up the time in between while you're working on the next thing. Like maybe they just need like someone to go be a guppy for a second, and you can go run and get that for them, or they need to like, they're up in a lift and you could like bend pipe for them for a second or something, or they're missing certain material, like I said, and you're just gonna go get it for them. So that's another way to stay busy, is you cover your base by reaching out to that person when work ends for you. But also something that can be really helpful is having a notepad. So instead of always being the person who's like, oh, I finished, there's nothing to do, like when the foreman comes round, be like, hey, I got that, I got it on my notepad, I got like the complicated stuff planned, do you know what's next? Or like, is there anything else that you can give me just to stay busy in case I finish? And not only does that make you look like you're not just going to spend the whole day on this task. It also, opens you up to looking like you're, about production, and that you want to get the work done. So not only does it look good, it also keeps the flow of work, instead of being like a bunch of like ups and downs and waiting. Get a list, work that punch list, so that you can stay at your production level that you would like to have. Because in work in general, whenever someone comes around, it always seems to be when you are like, don't have anything to do. It's like, oh, well, there's the superintendent, and I finished, but I don't know what to do. And now the superintendent is yammering the ear off the foreman. Now I can't get any more work my way. So now I'm standing in front of the super, and I don't look like I'm working or doing nothing. So, like, cover your bases by not having that cyclical, well, I finished my task, where is he? I can't find him. Like know the fact that is going to happen, and make a punch list for yourself that you can maybe tackle while the other person is completely preoccupied. And that's a nice tip to stay busy. If you're someone who maybe there's like layoffs coming up, as someone who is that person, it could, I'm not saying it will, but it could, be the difference between you staying with the company or not. If you're the guy who's always like trying to get work, they're going to see that you're always working. And even if it's not like your fault that there's no work, it's like, well, the foreman was signing off for material. What am I supposed to do? He's like counting the material. He's like in the middle of something, or he's like in a gear. Like, how the fuck am I supposed to, get that? But in the morning, typically, if the person's schedule isn't too slammed, you can get that info from them. Be like, hey, if I finish, is there anything else that you would like worked on? And if there is, then that's great. If not, then you tried, whatever. You tried. But just try to get a little bit more, so that when their time is completely being eaten up, you're not negatively affected by that. So that's a nice tip about staying busy. I guess some other quick things, sort of switching gears here, that you can do to try to stay busy is sort of in that same vein. Like, don't wait for someone else to give you work. Like, you can put it upon yourself, if you're knowledgeable enough, to make that happen for you. So, like, reaching out, asking if there's tasks to be done, understanding that, the sort of journeyman to apprentice sort of work flow that's created. It's like, hey, can you run this pipe? Can you get this for me? Can you get this one thing? Can you see if this is on? Can you see if it's off? Can you turn off this breaker? Like, that, like, workflow is something that totally is not necessarily what, like, needs to happen that way. And I see a lot of guys fall for that. Like, they get in that pitfall of like, well, my journeyman's not around, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, the difference between a journeyman and an apprentice, I think, is just, do you go find work, or like, do you wait for work to show up? I think that is like almost at the heart of that, of breaking out of that personal sort of like, I'm not making enough money, or I'm just an apprentice, like, sort of whole lifestyle. So I think a big jump that happens between I'm just an apprentice and the guy who's actually installing stuff, which is what everyone calls a journeyman, which is all it is. You just stop, you just know enough where you don't have to be like, oh, can somebody help me do this? Like, being able to do that will get you from an apprentice, or being seen as an apprentice, and being seen as someone who actually gets shit done. I'm not saying apprentices don't get shit done. I'm just saying that, like, getting work and doing work and staying busy is basically, like, knowing how to do that is basically what separates you from being a journeyman and an apprentice. So those are just some tips that will help you stay busy, and also make sure that when there are lulls, that you have a workaround to look like you're busy or to actually be busy. So yeah, if you guys have any tips that have really helped you with staying on despite layoffs, or ways that you stay busy, and that's not just shooting the shit with the other guys, let me know. I'll catch you all in the next one. Appreciate it. Bye.